Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday. It is November 6th, 2025, 11:37 a.m. California time. Latest activity here shows a 4.4 earthquake across the Nankai Trough. A little bit of earthquake activity ramping up here this morning. Got to watch that region. I've been talking about that area quite a bit here. Potentially expecting a mega quake out here. In fact, I'm not the only one that thinks that this is brewing a mega quake. The Japanese government here last year put out a mega quake warning for it because of all the activity happening around it. A lot of deeper activity. This earthquake, literally right there in the section A. There's 5 different segments there along this major subduction zone, and this is one of the larger quakes here in the area. In a little while. Not a big earthquake, right? This can produce some big time events. But this is kind of the largest one in terms of the swarm that we've seen down here and some periodic deeper earthquake activity and a little bit of surface fracturing going on there prior to the subduction zone in the last couple months. Last 30 days, there's that super deep earthquake into that subduction zone, 5.1, 223 miles deep. Man, talk about a deep earthquake. For sure, this is building up some steam and pressure out here. But that section right there, section A, let me show you guys here real quick. I haven't covered it in a while. The Nankai Trough. Normally I have images up here that I can pull up. But we'll just go over here to the Wikipedia article and look at the information here that I've been talking about. This subduction zone has a potential to produce a 9.1 earthquake. A 9.1. All right, that's a pretty big one. That's pretty much equivalent to the 2011 earthquake there that struck off the East Coast there and caused all the Fukushima stuff going on, that whole deal. Regular earthquakes here, right? Earthquakes along this subduction zone occur roughly around 90 to 200 years and often occur in pairs. Now let me show you guys this map here. This one right here is a very interesting map. We're going to have to start here at the bottom. This shows the different segments and whatnot. Just want to double check, make sure my bells are off, microphone's on. Okay, we're going to start back off here on the bottom. Our last event was back in 1946. Previous to that, 2 years, section C and D. So we had C and D first, and then 2 years later, A and B. There's a trend that goes on here, and it's almost predictable when it comes to the subduction zone here of the Nankai Trough. Most of the time, it's within months, maybe a couple years of each other when these sections have a big earthquake, or they can just go all at once, resulting in a higher magnitude earthquake, such as 8.6. But it does have the potential to produce up to an 8.1. By the way, that's that last 8.6 back in 1707. Now, if you look here, previous to the big earthquake, we had section, they believe A, B, C, and D went, resulting in a 7.9 in 1605, leaving out section E. Most of the time, I went back here and looked at this, most of the time when section E does not go with the entirety of the rest of the segments of the Nankai Trough, that results in a complete rupture all at once. And if you look, 1944, 1946, A, B, C, and D, but no E. So it's quite likely here that we'll see the shorter side of that reoccurrence interval, but also resulting in a complete rupture, and rupturing in a larger magnitude compared to these separate pairs here of events. So that's a concerning factor. I've been watching this for a little while, even since last year. It's been I've been covering this quite a bit. It's got history, and it's got reoccurrence intervals there, like I mentioned, of about 90 to 200 years. Our last event was back in 1946, 1944, 1946. A little ways from that, but it's very possible we could see something here near term with all the movement and the swarm that's been going on there. So yeah, section A had a little event today. 4.9, 25 miles deep here. I need to go check the Japan Meteorological Agency here and see what we got. Because those are the folks here that pick up on the smaller earthquake activity, such as swarms and whatnot going on in the area. And the adjacent sea of the Tokara Islands, that's from yesterday. Let's see, where is that 4 point? It's going to be one of these here. Let's see. I believe that's one of them. Let me see here. Because the USGS is showing that 4.9 early this morning, right here in this zone here. So it looks like the Japan agency is reporting that as a little bit smaller magnitude, 4.6 maybe. But it's within that zone there of Section A. Does look like there was a couple earthquakes there. That's along the east coast here of Japan. So I'll just kind of keep an eye on it. It's been pretty eventful out here earlier this year with a big swarm happening down here. Had that deeper quake here in the last 30 days underneath this area. Now we're getting some, we're starting to get some larger activity showing up here in the certain different segments of the Nankai Trough. So that's definitely some newer activity there, worth mentioning today. Let's see what else we got. And there's a little lineup here across the east coast of Japan, working its way northward. Pretty active. Taiwan's got a little earthquake here south, a 3-pointer. Some movement around the Philippines region. Nothing big. It looks like a 4.9 down here along the Philippine Trench, outside of Santiago, Philippines there. Of course, this region's been super active as well with that 7-pointer, 6-pointers working their way northward here along the Philippine Trench. I still think we got potential to see some larger movement up this way, just the way that advancement of the earthquake activity took place following that 7-pointer down here. It was kind of scary watching it work its way up northward here. May not look like much on that map, but this is a major subduction zone that's capable of producing those big mega quakes. Up in the above the 8 range. Not fear mongering. That's straight up facts right there. Couldn't get any clearer than that. So pretty good cluster going on there today. New Zealand had a 4.5 out here. Looks like in between the North and South Island. Also a couple 3s. Let's see if USGS is reporting that. They are outside of Wellington. It looks like just a short distance, not super deep. So I'm sure that earthquake was felt around the area there. Looks like only about 10 miles or so to the west of Wellington. And as mentioned, a couple smaller earthquakes there today as well. Let's take a look here at the west coast. Now we got a little swarm of activity in the Baja California region, Gulf of California, along the plate boundary here. A lot of times when things stir up here, we'll watch for advancement northward there into California, where it looks like we're seeing a little bit of activity. That is on, ooh man, that's very close here to the Parkfield section. It looks like it's right at the area where the San Andreas Fault tends to, locks up this area southward, but north of here, it's called the creeping section because this segment of the San Andreas Fault, instead of locking up and resulting in a big earthquake, it just kind of slips along. It gets these slip type events. And that earthquake is right at the zone where the locked area is of the Parkfield section. There was an earthquake out here last night as well in the Parkfield section of the San Andreas Fault. And why am I concerned with this? It doesn't produce big earthquake. I mean, a 6-pointer. It will produce a 6-pointer, and it's been 21 years since the last 6-pointer, 2004. That this area has regular reoccurrence intervals of roughly every 20 to 22 years. So we're in that zone there where we could see another 6-pointer. The only concerning factor is that the next 6-pointer, I've done some studies on this, that next 6-pointer could unzip the locked area down here of the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault because of the amount of time that has passed since a big earthquake out here it has hit. It's like walking on eggshells out here along the plate boundary. This thing could go at any second, resulting in a big earthquake. So that 6-pointer could very well trigger that big earthquake down there across Southern California. So watch that closely. That's right at the Parkfield section, right where it locks up. And then just north here, we got the creeping section. Just interesting activity right there. The Southern California right now, pretty quiet. One earthquake there underneath Los Angeles. Looks like that's off the northern end there of the Elsinore Fault. A couple smaller microquakes out there today. Nothing really above 2.5 in this area. Northern California, pretty quiet. Don't see anything showing up there. For now. North of Goose Lake up in Oregon outside of Lakeview. Don't see too much earthquake activity up there, but we got 2.8 and a 1.4 within minutes of each other. Haven't been up to Lakeview in a minute. It's been a little while. I do like to visit this area up here in Oregon. Where this earthquake struck, pretty shallow. I don't see any, it looks like maybe some volcanic features out here around the region, but hard to tell. Either way, a couple earthquakes stirring up there this morning. Again, that's just outside of Lakeview. Ooh, one up here as well, up in Oregon. It's just looks like 6 miles underneath this area. Volcanoes up there across the Cascades. Really nothing showing up, but as always, we do have to verify that and double check that. Make sure the accuracy is correct on the reporting page there from the USGS. Did not mean to go to Glacier Peak. Turn that off real quick. But since I'm here, I'll double check that, see if we got anything stirring up here. Is this working? Yes, it is. Maybe one earthquake right here. But what I wanted to look at here is the Mount Rainier seismograph stations and Mount St. Helens, just to double check things, make sure we're not seeing a big stir up of earthquake activity. A couple smaller earthquakes here. These are, these may be rock falls potentially, or distant earthquakes. Earthquakes in general locally around the area can look really thin like that. But I don't see any uptick going on there at Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, up at the summit area, or the dome station up here. Looks a little overblown, but I don't see anything of any major activity there for now. See some darker colors here in the background of the seismograph station, but normally it blows up like this in terms of the amplitude. When there's really not a whole lot going on. It's almost like a self-adjusting station. It's kind of neat. When you get an earthquake up here, it'll flatline these stations, or flatline the data here. But right now, there's really not a whole lot showing up there at Mount St. Helens. We'll double-check Mount Hood as well, because that's been a volcano that's been having a little bit of earthquake activity. Nothing unusual. I mean, these volcanoes across the Cascades periodically get some earthquakes. This is all out of whack here. Let me check out a different station around here. I guess we'll see if this one works. Well, intermittent data loss there, but it had a pretty decent storm up there. Got a lot of snow and a lot of wind. I don't think there's any earthquake activity stirring up there for now. Yellowstone National Park, lighten up out here. Got a 1.9 in the last hour. That is, that's kind of in a new spot here. Most of the activity here in the last week or so has been up north around the Mammoth area. It's going to be up here. They had a 3.7. It's been over a week now, but we've seen a little bit of earthquake activity filling in there. Now we got some newer movement down here away from that area. more into the caldera region of that super volcano. Yes, it is a super volcano. So let's go see what we have going on there today. So here's the newer activity. But I think this seismograph station here does pretty good of picking up activity, which it did. There's been, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 earthquakes or so. And this is all recent activity this morning. A little, I like to call it a little spitter spatter event where it just kicks out a bunch of earthquakes in a very short amount of time period. So there's a little cluster going on there this morning and in the last hour. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer here. I don't think this one's working. Yeah, it is. It shows it a little bit better here. A couple from yesterday as well, but we'll watch that. It's kind of stirring up a little bit there. The USGS, you know, as I mentioned here, reporting a fraction of the earthquakes that are actually taking place. 2.5 will almost always show up on the map as a preliminary magnitude in this area. 1.9, surprised they're showing that, but it is a weekday. And of course, there's probably 3 or 4 more quakes that are missing here, but maybe they'll get to them later today. Nothing big going on there for now. Oil fields of Texas still rocking and rolling. There's that earthquake activity there in the Gulf of California. Again, things are moving out here, and we've seen it here in the past. When things are on the move, you'll see California and the plate boundary here just light up. And when things are on the move, that's obviously a time to be prepared because stress, you know, the stress has been building up out here across many areas of California, the Cascade subduction zone. Pretty good quake activity down here. Looks like a couple 4s out there. Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador region. Some deeper activity there into the Middle America Trench as well. So things are definitely taking place out here across this area. South America, a little light on earthquake activity today. Just a couple of 2s and 3s out there along the Peru Chile Trench. Nothing major going on out there across the Atlantic for now. Returning to the uptick of earthquake activity out here around the Mediterranean. Pretty active out here today. Turkey's still swarming. When Turkey's swarming and everything else is stirring up out here, it still makes me think that there's a bigger quake brewing in the mix somewhere, whether it's around the Turkey area or around the Mediterranean, the plate boundary. Because that earthquake swarm that they've been having there at Turkey has just been pretty crazy. You know, they've had a 6-pointer a couple months back, had a recent 6-pointer, roughly in the same area, but it's just been swarming. A little unusual amount in that area. And like I said, when things are stirring up out here, we see various areas showing uptick, and Turkey's just one of them where the activity is really stirring up here today. So just watch it pretty close. Pretty close here in proximity to each other, but there's, you know, it's a very dynamic area in terms of the movement of the plates and a whole lot of volcanic activity. Speaking of that, let's go see what's going on at the Campe Flagre fields. We'll take a look, see if anything is happening today. Where am I? I've brought up a whole bunch more bookmarks here where it's kind of pushing down my normal pages here. Where are we? How come I'm not seeing that? Did it disappear? There's Yellowstone. Something looks different here. It's almost like someone rearranged my bookmarks. Maybe it's just me. All right, the Campe Flagre fields up here around Italy. Yes, there's some earthquake activity. You know, a lot of people keep talking about this. If you look here on the map, a couple earthquakes every day, but these are all super small microquakes here. And I think the biggest one was maybe a 2.4 in the area in the last week or so. It's not a whole lot of activity out there. I mean, there's always earthquake activity. This, you know, it's a concerning area when it comes to the volcanic potential out here. But I don't see anything of any worrisome activity right now. Everyone, it's just on social media right now. People are just blowing up with fear mongering stories. Especially about this comet Atlas or whatever. That is way out there, not even anywhere close to Earth. I seen a post here recently where this comet is supposed to come in between the distance of the Earth and the Moon. Could you imagine how that would look in the nighttime sky? That would show up in the daytime sky, and it would be viewable all around the world. That has never happened, and it probably won't ever happen. That comet is way, way out there, and I don't even think it's visible. There's a couple in the nighttime sky, but you really have to use, long duration camera to see it, and stay up super late or get up super early in the morning to see it. But, the point here is that there's so much fear mongering, AI stories that are coming out. It's getting ridiculous, folks, with what everyone's believing and sharing. It's very scary. Don't believe everything your eyes see on the internet. If you want facts, please stick to this channel. I cover legit data, and I promise to never do AI out here. Never, ever. That is, I don't like it. It might be funny, to watch an AI video, but, there's people who are believing some of this stuff. All right. Oh, jeez, man. Got another one coming into the Nankai Trough there. You guys see that? 4.5 right now. .5. Got to watch that pretty closely there, folks. Do I have my Kagoshima station up here? I don't. Let me add that real quick here. Normally I do. I thought I did, but I think I reset everything here. It should be up here. I don't know what happened to it. It used to, I have it check marked here. I don't know what happened. Huh. It's not working. That's why. I may have to reset this whole program, but because the Kagoshima station is literally right down here where this activity is stirring up today. I think it's right around here. But either way, activity in section A of the Nankai Trough, and it's kicking up. Be on guard out there. And Turkey, again, 2.5. It's a pretty active day. But look over here, though. I mean, it's hard to ignore the elevated activity out here today. A lot of white circles in that region, and technically all over the place right now. And there's a lot going on, earthquake activity, a lot going on for space weather activity as well. So let's talk about that. Auroras kicked up out of the blue. I believe this was a foreshock of the potential arrival of this dense plasma cloud from the sun. It got blasted off during an X flare, maybe one of the M flares here recently, over here on the eastern section of the sun. Let me show you guys the. Go back here. Let me show you the electric power community, the dashboard model here. The sun in the yellow. Green is the Earth. This is plasma density. This is the radial velocity, the speed at which it comes in there. So watch the sun. It produced a number of significant flares and CMEs. There was one that was somewhat Earth-directed here, along with the arrival of the high-speed solar wind stream. So we're getting a little enhancement there. Pretty good quick shot of high-density plasma, and the speed really ramps up here. Looks like maybe around 800 or so when it comes in. So it's going to really stir up the aurora activity. And I believe what we were witnessing last night is just that little foreshock of plasma right here. And should get slammed. Looks like the peak arrival of this is going to be around 0500 on the 7th. And right now, It's the 6 at about 1958 or so. So that's going to arrive here tonight. That should match tonight's time period. So we could see some decent auroras tonight, if you guys are interested in looking at that. KP index up around the 7, pending the BT-BZ component there allows us to view it, and it doesn't squash it. But this is the view line down to Central Oregon and so on. This is if you have a clear shot of the northern horizon there, you should be able to see it off in the distance. This is for the KP index of 7. This can vary. It can go higher, or it could go lower depending on that BT-BZ component here, which right now it's closed. Notice last night here and yesterday was wide open, allowing anything to kick up, even just a little moderate speed increase and little plasma density. It was really kicking up the auroras last night. That's since closed completely, even though the speed's been jacked up a little bit. We haven't got the density in there yet. I think that, like I said, that's going to be coming around 0700 later tonight. We'll check that out. We'll have to check back on tonight's update, see how that plays out. But if it looks like this, closed up, well, we're probably not going to see much here. It needs to be south here, southward tilt. Right now we're way north. We do have, of course, potential for some X-flare activity. I see these guys have bumped up to match mine. I've been keeping mine at 35% chance just because of what I've been seeing on here. The way these sunspots have been throwing off flares left and right, I still think we got a decent chance of seeing another X flare, M flare up there at around 80% chance. Let's take a look here at the sunspots. We need to go over here to the Stanford University website where they have the extreme latest imagery. I'll use Solar Ham here on occasion when they have the latest over here, but he gets his information from the SDO, which it's online a little bit, but it's behind here, roughly about a day. This is from yesterday, UTC time of yesterday at 0. So this area, pretty massive. This is the one that's thrown off the largest X flare in the last couple days at an X1.8. Not really too concerned with this region, but back over here, there's another area that's been thrown off X-flare activity. Pretty complex trail of magnetic structure there. Also up north here, there's another one that looks pretty decent. So this region, this area right here, watch those for some further X-flare activity. And these are starting to, they're starting to rotate more into an Earth-directed view. Anything that blasts off from those will, probably most certainly be Earth-directed. It's flaring right now. That active area down there that I just pointed out looks like right now just got a C flare, a couple C flares, almost up into the M flare category there. But it's sizzling. This is, if you look at these charts here, it's been pretty active here in the last few days. But I've seen this where it's just like a steady line down into the B flare category, right? When it's crackling and sizzling, I kind of just like to call it like popcorn. It's getting ready to just pop. You can hear it sizzling. That's what it reminds me of. And man, look how many flares it's been producing out here. There's a couple X flares, near X flares, and now we're going back up. Looks like towards the M flare category. That's very, very active. That's when X flare activity can happen, when it's crazy like that. All right, let's take a look here at the next close approach asteroids to the planet, see if anything's getting close. Definitely not going to be that comet. I seen the post that had like 30 or 40,000 shares, and people are like, I stepped outside this evening, I didn't see it. Man, got to get your information here from a verifiable source. People will do anything for clicks and views on social media, and I hope that they start cracking down on some of that AI stuff. I really do. That's pretty scary. All right, millions of miles here for these asteroids. Not a whole lot going on. Not anything big either. So Storm Prediction Center for severe weather, well, not a whole lot. There's just some thunderstorm activity up there across Seattle and maybe out here across the Chicago area, Great Lakes, back over here across Missouri region. Nothing for tornado, wind, or hail. Looking at the forecast guidance model here, Pacific Northwest, there's going to be another wave coming in here. Northern California going to pick up a little bit. I don't think much here in the Sacramento Valley. Redding might pick up some, but here around Chico and southward, I don't think we'll see much at all. Lots of cold air dipping down here. Little taste of old man winter with some snow on the backside of that low. Hey, it's November, right? It's supposed to be a little bit of snow around there. Next big system looks to be... Oh, man, that's changed. That's backed off a little bit here. It's a little bit further offshore than inland right now. A couple days ago, this was showing a pretty significant surge of moisture coming into Southern California. I don't know where that went. That's completely different. Hopefully that changes there, because that is way different than what it showed before. Either way, it looks like Northern California still get a little rain, but that's a ways out. It could change back to the normal outlook. Let's see here. Look at that massive low coming in here. Not next week, but the following week there around Monday. Looks like a lot of cold air and some more snow for you folks. Goodness. Anyway, I'm hoping this will change. The Climate Prediction Center is still showing what looks like, favorable precipitation there. Let's go back to the 6 to 10 day for the West Coast here, including Southern California. So they're basing this off of the that storm that's originally coming in that was really supposed to bring a lot of rain out here to California. The GFS model has really backed off, but these guys issued it today. So it looks like the data that they're looking still shows that it's going to be, pretty wet out here across all of California during this week period, or during next week, the 12th to the 16th. Same for the 8 to 14 day outlook. Fairly wet across Southern California and the West in general. Hazards, let's see what we got here for hazards. They do have Southern California still in here in a moderate risk category for heavy rainfall. Looks like the majority of the West here in a slight risk. So the weather models, even though they're showing backing off right now, looks like it looks like it's still about ready to play out as far as getting substantial moisture here next week. Let's see what we got here for the quantitative precipitation total here. Here's a 7 day. This goes, this I don't think it'll cover the major portion of that storm next week. Either way, Northern California getting some further rain. Pacific Northwest, good start to the year. Definitely a good start to our rainy season. I know there's not a whole lot of moisture out here, but you guys have had you have rain all spring and summer. We don't get that. So it's our time to get a little bit of precipitation out here. This is when we're supposed to have rain. All right, what else we got out here, folks? I'm going to probably reset this and make sure I pull up the Kagoshima station there to monitor the activity that's happening in Japan. I don't like the looks of this into Section A of the Nankai Trough. Major subduction zone. I've covered this a number of times out here, and this is definitely interesting activity. We'll watch that closely. Either way, enjoy your Thursday. We'll see you guys back out here a little bit later on for the Thursday night update. Have a good day. Stay safe and be prepared out there.